closer you are to death, the more alive you feel.
You're James, aren't you?
Yes. Who's that?
It's Niki Lauda. He's just been signed by Ferrari.
He's nobody.
Look at the way he's driving, like an old man.
Right now, with zero incentive, why would I drive fast?
Because I'm asking you to.
This is an incredible battle between these two great drivers.
Next time, I'll have you.
No chance. You're just the party guy. That's why everybody likes you.
Yes, I know, I'm terrible.
No, you're not terrible. You're just who you are at this point in your life.
To be a champion, it takes more than just being quick. You have to really believe it.
I've been waiting for this my whole life.
I can beat this guy, trust me.
He's consistent, dependable.
Will he put his life on the line the day that really matters?
Welcome to the racing grudge match of the decade.
World champion Niki Lauda, trapped in a searing inferno of 800 plus degrees.
Talk to me, James.
Don't go to men who are willing to kill themselves driving in circles looking for normality.
And what did your wife say when she saw your face?
She said, you don't need the face to drive, you just need the right foot.
I feel responsible for what happened.
Watching you win those races, while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
42 days after his near-fatal accident, Niki Lauda will race here today.
More powerful than the fear of death is the will to win.
It's a rivalry, like the kind of rivalry that you just have in competitive environments and situations. But during that '76 season, of course, it intensified, and everyone was writing about it, everyone was talking about it, because even at the moment it was occurring, they were such opposites, and they really represented two ends of the spectrum. Of course, this makes for great drama. It makes for humor, and given the world that they exist in, I thought it'd be made for a very fresh kind of character story. Lauda, really, in a lot of ways, I think represented the new breed of professional athlete, and he made it a business. Yet the competitive fires were clearly there. He was very scientific. Niki Lauda reminds me a little bit of honestly of some of the astronauts that I met and worked with on Apollo 13. Technically astute, but with just enough sense of adventure or willingness to risk everything to be able to just take that technology and push it to places that others don't. James Hunt was he's famous for being a ladies' man. He's famous for epitomizing the '70s, a very free lifestyle, yet incredibly competitive, and still representative of the idea that you could be great without making it a business. That it was supposed to be some wild form of expression.
Interesting trying to pin down exactly who he was, because even within reading different biographies and looking at different interviews and depending on what mood he was in, and then speaking with people who knew him, there's quite a varied opinions on him, and I think that was what was so fascinating about him. He wasn't sort of in black and white with things. He was incredibly passionate and outspoken and a great amount of fun, but also had a side to him which he was bottling up something. There was sort of a darker side, and nothing overly brutal, but there was a few contradictions there, which makes for an interesting character to play. The best stuff I found was the archive footage, where there was little snippets of the before interview and after the interview, where no one really realised they were rolling, or it wasn't what you know, was going to be the edited version. And there you saw real flashes of who he was, you know, and there was such a sort of, you know, fascination with his eyes. It was all in his eyes about kind of, you know, his love or his thirst for life and, you know, what was going on, and everything kind of caught his attention, you know, and very much, you know, like a little kid, you know, that they own the environment they're in.
When you sit in the cockpit of a Formula One car, and you don't even have to, you know, the engine doesn't have to be running, and it, you know, it's this visceral, palpable sort of thing. I mean, you just feel it. There's all this power around you. There's a gas tank either on your back or under your legs or under your ass or something. You know, you're just so low, and you realize that it's about like squatting down on top of a rocket, and, you know, hanging on. Olivia's character is vital, because here you see James Hunt, you know, this sort of perfect ladies' man, perfect 70s playboy, and you know, and that, from that standpoint, really the world is his oyster, so to speak. But here's this woman who comes into his life who really has a chance to stand up to him, stand alongside, and let us begin to view him from a little different perspective. And that's really valuable from a psychological standpoint and an emotional standpoint. And those scenes were well written, and Olivia came in and really, you know, explored that material, understood it, and really did some great work.
Susie was a model, a successful model in the 70s, and she was kind of a social woman in London, and a very popular and beautiful woman. And she ran in the same circles as James Hunt. She knew Hasketh very well. Susie became James's first wife, and they had a tumultuous marriage, but she was very much in love with him, and I think he with her, and she ended up leaving him for Richard Burton. But in the end, I think it's a kind of an example. I'd say Susie and James are an example of the kind of reckless, romantic, optimistic behavior of the time. What's amazing about their rivalry is the respect they had for one another as they tried to one-up each other. And what they learned from each other, I think, was quite significant in both their lives. But it's an amazing story of human triumph and of rivalry that existed just as much on a personal level as it did on the racetrack.